Good morning. I'm Stormtracker 8 Meteorologist Jacqueline Waters, here for another episode of Weather University. And I have a very special guest today, one of our morning producers, Mary Catherine.
Hello.
I'm so excited you're here with us today, and also super special because this week she'll actually be starting her own podcast. I think it's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So you want to share a little bit, just a little sneak peek?
Sure, a little sneak peek. It's called The Rundown, and it's basically a behind-the-scenes producing podcast. So we'll go over what it means to be a producer, what it looks like for us behind the scenes to get everything that you guys see on TV to
I'm so excited.
look how it does. So, yeah.
And I think it's really important when I go to school talks and I go tell everyone what we do behind the cameras, people always are surprised that we get in a lot earlier. The producers get in at 11 p.m. and they have to put the whole show together. So
yeah.
I think it'll be a really cool perspective. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. You can be on that one too.
I'll probably learn from that, honestly, too.
Uh-huh.
So Wednesday.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
So today we're just going to talk about earthquakes because we had two earthquakes 2 weeks ago. What's the date? January 27th. So 2 weeks ago, January 15th. I feel like it's like December. So January 15th, we had two earthquakes, and it was pretty big, but also we had the water outage that week. There was a lot of news that week, so we didn't get to talk about it too much, so I figured we would talk a little bit about the earthquakes we saw. So I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to show you guys my browser here, because obviously it was 2 weeks ago. In the system, we could only show earthquakes over the last 24 hours. So I wanted to show this. This is, if you ever want to look up earthquake stuff, you could go to USGS, United States Geological Survey, and they'll show you all the earthquakes across the country. It's actually pretty cool. But also, I'm a little biased. I have my minor in geology and geophysics from Hawaii, so I love earthquakes. Not when they happen and hurt people, but I just think they're interesting. So here are the two that we had 2 weeks ago. And just zooming in here, it's a little bit slow because I loaded in all the earthquakes over the last 30 days. Yeah, so it's not really letting me zoom in. But we had our first one here. I believe this was the first one, 2.8 magnitude. And it was actually pretty shallow. It was only 0.1 kilometers deep. And it happened at 5:28 p.m. And then that was just north of the Dominion Club Wyndham Lake, I think that is. But then the second one was 2.3. It was actually probably more of an aftershock. Mm-hmm. We get these foreshocks, these aftershocks, and it was still 2.3 magnitude, so pretty strong. And you can see the depth there right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, 0.0 kilometers. So both were actually pretty shallow, but a lot of people felt them. And this whole website, it actually shows you, USGS earthquakes. If you go to the latest earthquakes, I probably shouldn't have went back. But you could see the how does it feel graphic, and you could read all about it. It's pretty cool. But we know 2.8 and a 2.3 magnitude. So that's pretty significant for our area. I mean, we don't see them that often.
Did you feel it?
I did not. Did you?
No, I didn't. I'm all the way down in Hopewell, so I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I probably
okay,
wouldn't
right.
have felt it.
Yeah.
But I do remember feeling the one from a couple years ago.
Yes.
Like the aftershocks.
I was going to ask you. So the one everyone remembers is 2011, and I just looked up the actual date, August 23rd. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I was actually in a dance class at Richmond Ballet, and so we all had to evacuate the building and leave because the building was just shaking everywhere, and I thought we were just dancing really hard because we were like getting into the music.
Or the music's blasting.
Yeah, and so we had to leave, and then I remember we all had to like call our parents to let them know what was happening, and my mom was like, yeah, we kind of felt something here too in Hopewell, so I guess that might have been an aftershock. I'm not sure, but
So that earthquake was 5.8 magnitude. And the Richter scale, which is what we use to classify earthquakes, kind of like the Saffir-Simpson, but Saffir-Simpson's obviously hurricanes, it goes all the way up to 10. So 2.8, you could see minor earthquakes, some damage. I actually don't think we had any reports of any damage or any major damage at least, but can be felt. A lot of people did feel it. I know my Facebook Messenger was blowing up. Everyone was like, what was that? Like, I thought it was a tractor trailer, but now I'm seeing everyone post about it. So 2.8, it was pretty good. I didn't feel it. In 2011, I was in New York. I was actually surfing at the time. And I get out of the ocean, and I see all these missed calls from my dad. And I'm like, what's wrong? I call him. He's like, get out of the ocean. There's a tsunami coming. I'm like, Dad. And I look it up. I'm like, It's probably because of this earthquake, but he doesn't know geology that well.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Love you, Dad. But yeah, so 2.8, we felt it, and we don't get earthquakes too often, so just wanted to start with that. And just to talk about the overall picture of basically why we get earthquakes, tectonic plates, that has a big role in a lot of geology, but really earthquakes. Do you remember a lot about tectonic plates?
I remember that there are like plates that make the continents,
yes,
and they move around,
yep,
and when they touch in certain ways, that's what makes earthquakes.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Like valleys and stuff.
Yeah, so
sometimes they go in.
Yeah, you're thinking convergent, divergent zones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But also Pangea. A lot of people think of, when you think tectonic plates, you think of Pangea. And not exactly what makes earthquakes is what you said. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit as we head on. But yeah, pretty much you have convergent tectonic plates, you have divergent tectonic plates transform, and here's the plates across the United States. We only have really the North American plate and then the Pacific plate. And one thing I want to note is most earthquakes happen at plate boundaries. So you can see the Pacific plate and the North American plate, the boundary is right along California, which the most popular, do you know the most popular fault zone?
San Andreas Fault.
Yeah,
Yay.
I love that movie too. But this is obviously where we get most of the earthquakes across the country and a lot of the stronger magnitude ones. So it's like second nature to them. Like it's second nature to some people in a tornado warning, like in Tornado Alley. For us, what's second nature in Virginia?
Hurricanes, I guess.
Hurricanes, tolls on the Powhite.
Yeah.
But I mean,
basically,
we're not used to earthquakes, but they have all these earthquake drills in schools and everything because they are so frequent there. And I actually wanted to pull up, because on the system we can show the last 24 hours of earthquakes. You could see really all along the West Coast, but actually, and I wonder if I could pull this up again. So I was noticing this when I was putting this together, that I know it's hard to see there and I can't zoom in, but I'm going to pull up the browser again. That dot you see up in New England, that's actually an earthquake that happened at, I think it was 10:22 a.m., so about 20 minutes ago. And it was 10 kilometers southeast of York Harbor, Maine. So that's pretty strong for that area, 3.8. I'm pretty positive they don't get earthquakes that often either. And the depth was 13.2 kilometers, so also pretty deep.
It looks like it was in the ocean. Is that
true?
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so a lot of times, and I'll talk about, because the North American plate is so big, I'll talk about why they happen intraplate. But yeah, that didn't happen on land. But you could still feel it on land. There's P and S waves, and they travel, and they make you feel that. But I actually wanted to see if I could pull up this shake map. Probably nothing yet, because it was so recent. Actually, yeah, we'll probably have to wait till more data comes in. But I just thought that was interesting because we don't really see that often. So 3.8, that's the little dot you see up near Utica. And then obviously the rest of them all along or close nearby the San Andreas Fault. And also you have some earthquakes sometimes in the Midwest where you have fracking because you're underground and fracking, and that causes some earthquakes. But most of them, at least in our country, happen on the San Andreas Fault. So just wanted to start with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I guess there is other stuff I want to mention. I was trying to think anything else on that map. But kind of going into what causes earthquakes, you kind of touched on it, MC. And you have these different fault zones. So we talked about the tectonic plates. Along the boundaries of tectonic plates, you have a boundary, but certain times basically the crust could get stuck. So that's why they're most often at plate boundaries. And when it gets stuck, you don't have the earthquake right when they rub against each other. You have an earthquake when it gets unstuck, and that causes the shock. And these are just the three different fault types. So you have the normal fault, you have reverse fault, and you have strike-slip fault, which the San Andreas is a strike-slip fault. And then it is a little bit confusing. People are probably like, I should pull up the comments to see if we're getting any questions. But the normal fault and reverse fault look pretty similar. They're not, but they are, I guess they're similar. They're just not the same. So the normal fault, that's hard. Normal fault, you have the block above the fault line moves downward relative to the block below. And basically, the reverse fault is just backwards. You could see that block above the fault moves up and over the lower block. So I'm just going to pull up to see if we have any questions. Also, as always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I will try my best to answer them. And remember geology back in college.
So is the strike slip one the most common one then?
I would say so, because the most common is along the San Andreas Fault, at least for the U.S.
Yeah.
I'm not really familiar with other earthquakes across other countries, but the strike slip, the most common, at least in the U.S. We have pretty much all those earthquakes that happen in California are because of that strike slip fault, where they're basically just sliding past each other, because you have the Pacific plate moving one way and then the North American plate moving the other. So it's just sliding against each other. So
are they always moving?
Yeah, so the tectonic plates are always moving. That's why, so we had that supercontinent Pangea, and then over millions and millions, billions of years, they eventually moved apart. But they're always moving a little. Actually, maybe one day I'll do an episode on Hawaiian Islands, because I'm fascinated by it. It's all because of mantle plumes and tectonic plates. And we're always growing another Hawaiian island because the plates are always moving. So
interesting.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's very, like, I could talk about it probably for an hour. So I'm not going to talk about it today, but that might be
the next time.
Yeah. That might be a nice episode for next time. I guess that's kind of all I had on earthquakes. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like we don't see them very much here, and so it's kind of hard to, like, I don't know, I guess imagine what it's like to have them every day like they do in California. I can't know. I mean, I remember the one in 2011 feeling really scary in the moment. So, like, to think about it happening all the time over there is a little scary.
And also, like, I'm just thinking, because I love my dog, like, if I'm not home, my dog feels it. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's just like second nature to them, but not to us. I guess the only other thing I wanted to talk about with earthquakes, so I could go back here, is our bedrock's different on the East Coast versus the West Coast. So that's why East Coast earthquakes we feel over a larger area, which is interesting. All the composition of the East Coast bedrock is just different than the West Coast. So usually we feel it over 10 times larger than what they do in the West Coast.
Oh, wow. So it's just more concentrated over there.
I don't know the exact chemistry of the bedrock, so I don't want to get into that, but it's really just what makes up the bedrock.
Oh, okay.
And also how deep you have basically that earthquake is. I think it's the hypocenter of an earthquake, if I'm not mistaken. And then the epicenter is actually the center point at the surface. So I think it's called the hypocenter in an earthquake. But yeah, that's something people don't know. That's why I think a lot of people felt it in New York, that 2011 earthquake. And that was in Louisa County.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting. Let me just see if we have any questions on earthquakes. I don't think so. But yeah, if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, and I'll do some research, and I'll get back to you if I don't know it. But yeah, earthquakes are cool. Geology is cool. What's not cool, and literally not cool. Well, no, literally it is cool. It's cold. January. It's been cold.
Oh my gosh.
It's been brutal. I think that's why I looked at the date. I'm like, wait, is it really January 27th? I feel like we've been in December. Well, I guess January is cold too. I just feel like it's been winter forever.
Yeah. I mean, and it's been shockingly winter. Like, we're not used to this type of cold.
Especially coming off 2024 was the warmest year on record for us in Richmond.
Yeah.
And then to be rudely awakened with this, it's just not nice. But these are our high temperatures so far over the month. This is the last full week of January, and only 4 days were above average, and then only 2 days, that gray box, were seasonable. And yeah, it's just it was not a great week last week.
And it was cold in here too.
It was cold
So we were trying to find warmth inside when we came into work, but we were having some issues, so it was a little chillier in here than we thought too.
Yes. It was cold everywhere. I feel bad for my dog. I did not want to walk him at all last week.
Oh my gosh, me either. My dogs were so mad because I was like, it's just too cold. If it's cold for me, like, they're so little. Because I have 3 baby dogs. I know Garrison's a big boy.
Do you have little sweaters you could put on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has a little
But
sweater.
they won't wear shoes. I feel like shoes would help, but they hate shoes. So.
Yeah. Well, I have good news coming up.
Okay.
We're not going to be that cold anymore.
Okay,
but
good.
So high temperatures have been cold. Also, the low temperatures have been cold. It's just been cold. And for us, I know a lot of people really look for the high temperature on our 8-day when we show it. But for us, when we're walking into work now you're walking into work at 3:30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3:34.
We're usually wondering what the low temperatures are because that's what we're feeling when we walk outside. And interesting to note here, this morning was the only morning since January 1st that we walked out the doors where temperatures were above freezing.
Wow.
That's crazy. These are lows. So obviously we've had high temperatures above freezing, but it's been cold. I've been like wearing my heated jacket, my layers and gloves, scarves, hats, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone thinking, I feel like it's been cold, you're right, it has been. And we are on that top 10 list of coldest Januaries on record. And this takes in the max temperature and the min. So it basically takes the average of our high temperatures and our lows. So that's why you might be looking at this and you're like 30.8 degrees, no way. But it's taking in those overnight lows also.
Oh, gotcha.
So right now we're number 7. And I am thinking we are going to drop on that list because we have milder temperatures on the way. But you notice there, not one single one of those years happened in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, most of them were 1893, I see there, number 4. The coldest January on record happened in 1940. I was not alive to experience it, and I'm very glad. 24.2 degrees, 1977, 1918. I mean, yeah, it's crazy to see, especially coming off that warm 2024. But why I said I think we're going to drop in the list is because we have milder temperatures, which I know we're all thankful for. I don't think there's anyone. I know Matt and I differ on this. I want the snow always.
Me too.
Okay, thank you.
He always gets mad when I'm like, I want snow. And he's like, no.
Because my theory is if it's going to be cold, it might as well be pretty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to just be cold and miserable. I want to be cold and like looking outside with a cup of cocoa, watching the snowfall, something.
Yeah. I say the same thing, but he does not like it. The one thing I don't like, I think a lot of people do like the snow. I don't think I've ever met anyone that really likes the cold.
Yeah.
Have you?
I love the cold.
What?
I do. That's why I went to school in Boston, because I was like, if I'm going to be like out of the house for 4 years, I want it to snow like all the time. And it did a little bit.
Okay, but what if it's cold and it doesn't snow?
That's fine too, just because I like the fashion of it too. Like I like to layer a bunch of clothes on and have like a turtleneck, shirt, jacket kind of thing. Yeah, I like it. This was a little bit too much. Like I think.
Okay, I was gonna say.
I think that like 40s is a good happy medium for me.
Highs in the 20s, no. I'm not going outside.
It was a little brutal last week.
Yeah, it was. I did not know that. Well, now I learn something new every day.
You do.
And MC likes the cold. Good to know. But we are going to see those milder temperatures because I know a lot of us have been wanting those, like myself. Maybe not MC, but 99% of us.
I could take some warmer temperatures after. It was a little rough.
Yeah, it was a little rough. But today will be above average. So our average high this time of year, 48. And then also notice there at the end of the week, well, actually next week, next Monday, our average high 49. So we're slowly getting warmer as we head towards February. And we're going to be near 60 on Wednesday, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, that's going to feel warm for us after what we just had.
I know. I might go surfing, honestly.
I
won't. But I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'll go snowboarding.
Yeah.
But then we're going to see those temperatures cool down once again as we head towards the end of the week. But back to seasonable. We're not talking about the 20s. Hopefully, we stay out of any Arctic air moving in the rest of the winter. But we know we have quite a ways to go.
Yeah.
And speaking of, Groundhog Day, one of my least favorite days. I hate Groundhog Day.
Why?
Because a groundhog's not a meteorologist.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah.
He's usually not right either.
No, he's not.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah. And I was reading about some of the history earlier. I was going to put it in here, and I just didn't, because I just don't like Groundhog Day. But
they are cute, though.
They are cute. I love
They're
groundhogs.
fat little creatures. Yeah.
I love groundhogs. I just don't. I mean, we go to school for this, study it, and go through hard classes, derivatives, calculus, and I wish I could just look outside and say, I don't see my shadow today.
Yeah.
So it's going to be warm. But, yes, just to show you, Groundhog Day is Sunday, and our forecast, we're going to see highs near 50, so right around seasonable, partly sunny skies. And do you know whether the groundhog sees his shadow or not, what it means? I wrote it down so I don't mix it up.
I think if he sees it, that means there will be 6 more weeks of winter?
Yes. Okay.
And if he doesn't, then it's going to be an early spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually when we see sunshine, even if it's a little bit of sunshine, and more times than none, the groundhog, I forget his name, Phil?
Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah. Sees his shadow because you have to have a lot of clouds around for him not to. And basically the way I remember it is if you see the shadow, you get scared and you go back in. So
Oh, okay.
6 more weeks of winter. And if there is no shadow-free, spring is on the way. Yeah, but it's been around since 1886.
Yeah, it's like a really long tradition that we've had.
Yeah, it is. I will say I enjoy watching the cameras, the live feed up in Pennsylvania, but yeah, I just don't like it, and I had to throw this in here. I am not a groundhog. I am a groundhog.
That's so good.
I am not a meteorologist, so yeah.
We got a bone to pick with Phil.
Yeah, but he's cute. He's cute.
He is
but cute. The history is interesting, so anyone wants to learn the history, go look it up. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
I don't like it. But it really goes back to 1886, and it's just interesting how it all came about. But the way I bring in spring is the vernal equinox, and we're 52 days away from that. So less than 60 days, which is exciting. And yeah. And do you know, so I know there's a lot of different ways we talk about seasons. We have the actual seasons on the calendar. Have you ever heard of meteorological seasons? Okay, so I know I talked about Delaney one time on the podcast about this. Basically, it's to easier classify weather data. So because the equinox, the solstice happen on different days each year. Usually it's within a 2-day range, but it's just easier. So September, October, November is fall in the meteorology world.
Okay.
December, January, and February is winter in the meteorology world. March, April, May is, did I mix a month? February, March, April, May is spring. And then June, July, August is summer. So it's just easier when when I pulled up a graphic, I think I made one for fall, the warmest falls on record. You could just start from September 1st through November 30th. Is that 30th in November?
Yes.
Okay.
Had to say the rhyme in my head.
It's just easy for records, really, in meteorology, and it just, it makes things easier.
I feel like that's how I think of seasons, too, though. Like, when December 1st comes, like, it's winter.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I kind of think the same. Or when the weather really changes. But on the calendar, we actually have the equinoxes. I don't know if that's plural. How do you say that plural? Equinoxes. That doesn't sound right.
I don't know.
I don't know either. We're going to say vernal and autumnal equinox. And then equinocci? No.
Sounded cool.
Summer and winter solstice. So that is what you see on your calendar when it says first day of spring, first day of winter, and so on and so forth. So the vernal equinox for us this year will happen on March 20th. Usually it's the 20th or 21st, sometimes even the 22nd. And it will happen at 5:01, and it has to all do with the tilt of the Earth, the Earth's tilt. So on the vernal, I'm not going to try to say plural again, on the vernal and autumnal equinox, we have equal amounts of daylight and darkness at all latitudes. And then in the northern hemisphere, for the winter solstice, we have the longest night, longest darkness. And then the summer, we have basically the longest day. So it all depends on the Earth's tilt. So that is what we see on the calendars.
I don't know if this is true, but when I was little, I read that you could, balance an egg at the exact time of the equinox because the Earth is, standing straight.
I don't think that's true.
You don't think so? Okay. Maybe I'll try it. I mean, I'll be up at 5:01 on March 20th. What day is that?
Oh, I didn't even know what today was.
Yeah. We could try it.
There's no way. I'm 99% sure it's not, but I will look it up.
It's a Thursday.
Okay.
So we could try it. I read that you were supposed to be able to do that, but that could be false.
I wonder why, because,
Because I guess it's just balanced, right? If the Earth is straight up?
No, but the Earth's still tilted. I don't know. I would be really surprised if I went my whole life without knowing that.
Yeah.
But hey.
You're the expert, so.
I don't know. I mean, not on eggs balancing. So I have to look it up, but
We'll try it.
I really doubt that. But, I mean, hey, it's possible. Crazier things are possible. And the Commanders made it into the playoffs.
Yes, anything is possible.
Really upset they didn't win. But anyways, the forecast the rest of the week, we're going to be quiet. We're going to see those milder temperatures. Sorry, MC.
Well, that's okay.
I'm happy about it. I know Garrison will definitely be happy. I'll take him on longer walks. Your dogs also will enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be great. We're going to stay quiet. Our next chance of rain moves in Friday into early Saturday. And then Groundhog Day is Sunday. I will be here live on air not at 5:01. Oh, not at 5:01. Oh, wait, no. I'm thinking the vernal equinox.
Yeah.
gosh, my brain. I will be here, so we'll be talking about Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll probably remind everyone 18 times Groundhog is not a meteorologist.
Yes, as you should.
Yeah, but anyways, that is it. Do you have any questions? Final thoughts, questions, anything you want to say?
I don't think so. I think I'm ready for Groundhog Day just to see what he says.
Yeah.
And then do you make your own prediction too, or based on like your actual scientific knowledge, or
I mean,
or is it just too hard to kind of?
I usually do for winter because it's fun. I never
Uh-huh.
really look out that far. I mean, we have like climate. The CPC is the Climate Prediction Center, which put out like long range models, and they say like whether we're going to see above average temperatures, below average, more rain, less rain than usual. So I look at that stuff, but I don't really put out like a spring forecast.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
just think winter is fun, so I always look at that. But I do look at, I try to make an educated guess because I'm a meteorologist on whether he's going to see his shadow or not. So right now, with partly sunny skies, I think he will see his shadow. That's as far as I'll go with Groundhog Day.
Gotcha. All right.
But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Weather University. Thank you for joining me today
Thank
and
you.
everyone
It was
emceeing.
fun.
And we're all excited about your podcast.
Yay.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.